baggage has been done by the passenger. So now let's say the passenger is taking the bag from the belt, and the handle of the bag has been broken. He can't go to the airline and say, my handle has been broken, you are liable for it. No. If he is getting a baggage in a damaged condition, then yes, he can go to the airline and ask for a liability. But if it's because of his mistake, he is not supposed to go and it will not be liable for that. As of 2013, the Warsaw Convention has been ratified by 152 states. So ratified in the sense it's signed by 152 countries, and this is being still followed. Now also it is being followed. Okay. Moving on to the next convention, Chicago Convention. Chicago Convention, of course, ICAO. This you need to be remembering. This is a major convention, okay, because ICAO was brought into action on so and so date. So it was signed on 7th of December 1944. Now came into effective on 1947. Okay, too late. This was actually the depository was government of United States. Okay, so America was the depository for this. America was well developed then only. Okay, so English, French, Spanish, and Russian were the languages which were happening in this. Now, what had happened in Chicago? Of course, the first and very foremost thing, ICAO came into existence. Chicago Convention was established. ICAO. Okay. Then what was the rules given by them is that rules for the aircraft registration. Okay, every Indian aircrafts or every international aircrafts have their own country's registration. Okay, so the registrations needs to be done. Okay, to differentiate the airlines, to differentiate the aircraft. Oh, this is an Indian aircraft, this is an international aircraft. So to differentiate that, a proper rule for aircraft registration was set up by the Chicago Convention. Okay, now it exempts air fuels from taxes. So now taxes has been come up for the air fuels also. But what to do? Chicago Convention brought this force into action that air fuels, since it's too costly, taxes shouldn't be levied on it. So 191 members were the parties of this particular convention. Okay, so this also is a part of freedom of air. Okay, so this was the convention which gave the first and second freedom of air. Okay, so later on when we talk about freedom of air, I will tell you what freedoms of air is. Okay, you have 9 set of freedom of air. Okay, so first and second standards, freedom of air was given by the Chicago Convention. Moving on to the next convention, Tokyo Convention. So Tokyo Convention, 4th December 1969. Okay, so the depository was ICAO themselves. So Tokyo Convention was based on the ICAO. Okay, ICAO was the depository for it. Now, what was there in Tokyo Convention? Tokyo Convention is an international treaty concluded at Tokyo. Of course, the name is kept as Tokyo itself, so it was done in Tokyo, September 1963. Okay, came into force very late, after 3 years. So 185 countries came into, for this particular treaty. Now, if you see what was the topic entirely discussed in Tokyo Convention was the offenses. That is, what kind of penal law will be implicated if the person on board is being affected by anything. Now, let's say there is a threat happening on board. Okay, or an observed passenger is on board. Okay, any such damage to the aircraft by a passenger. So what is his penalty? Okay, what is his imprisonment? What is his jurisdiction? All these was discussed in Tokyo Convention. So this generally gives certain powers for the misuse of certain things happening on board. Okay, so Tokyo Convention was majorly made for that. Moving on to the next, the Hague Convention. Hague Convention, it has already been given here. Convention for the separation of unlawful seizure of aircraft, totally based on hijacking. Okay, so hijacking of an aircraft. Okay, so what was the mistake? What is the penalty? how an hijacking has happened. All these things was discussed in the Hague Convention. Okay. Moving on to the next convention, Montreal Convention. Montreal is in Quebec, Canada. Okay. 28 May 1999, this came to action. Again, who was the depository? ICAO was the depository for this. Okay. So, Montreal Convention. This was again adapted by ICAO. Okay. Don't get confused by Montreal Convention, because Montreal Convention is same as Warsaw Convention with little bit of amendment changes, because Warsaw Convention was only talking about the passengers, where if the property of the passenger has been damaged, then the airline is liable, blah blah blah. That was the thing what Warsaw was saying. But when it came to the Montreal Convention, they wanted to change. They wanted to add a little bit of extra to it. Now, let's say the passenger has been traveling on the aircraft, while touching down, there was a crash happened. So whoever is being passed away in that particular crash, and it's the mistake of the airline, then there should be a liability given to their parents, should be given to the family members of that particular deceased person. So that certain things were added into the Warsaw Convention, okay, and they bought a new name for that, stating that Montreal Convention. So the other name for Warsaw, or the current name for Warsaw, is Montreal Convention. So even if we think of Warsaw, we will also always be thinking of Montreal too, because it is interconnected. So don't get confused. It is the same convention amended with a little more changes or little more added up points to the Warsaw Convention. Clear? Is that clear? Guys,
Yes,
is
ma'am.
that clear?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Moving on to Rome
Yes, ma'am.
Convention. Rome Convention is the general risk, whatever is being happening. If at all there is an unlawful interference, okay. Unlawful interference means hijacking. So we don't say hijacking in general words, since we are all aviation students. We only say as unlawful interference, okay. So if there is an unlawful interference in the aircraft, or let's say any of the aviation thing, and you have already damaged a property of that particular person, then what is the result of that particular act? So what you would be liable of? Okay, so if you are generally, now I might be a normal passenger, but I am drunk. Okay, I start breaking all the things on the aircraft. So even what I would be liable for, how much would be my payment be? So certain penalties, everything was given in the Rome Convention. Geneva Convention is the convention for international recognition of rights in aircraft. So what and all, financial thing. So if you're, as I said, you are buying up and purchasing an aircraft, what is the main, to whom should you lend the money? Okay, certainly you can't, if a person is asking for 20 crores, you just can't give blindly. So you are supposed to check whether the creditors are genuine, okay, and they are a part of these, certain communities. Then only you're supposed to pay the money, okay. Transfer of the aircraft from one. And now, if I'm an Indian, I went to UK, I'm staying in UK, now I have become the UK citizen, and I will have to get my aircraft to UK to become take up the UK registration. Then in that case, I need to be following the rules which is given in the Geneva Convention, and then only I can change the registration. So if at all you need to change the nationality of a particular aircraft, then you are supposed to follow this Geneva Convention. Okay. Now, Guadalajara Convention. Now this is a newly bought convention, but just keep in mind, not that important. Just keep in mind, this is an international by air performed by person other than contracting carrier. So if at all it is based on any verifications, okay, any like your code sharing flights, like your charter flights, okay, these rule should be came into that person. So if there is a chartered flight has been crashed, so what is the bodily injury, what is the liability, all these things was discussed in this. Okay, so this was the last convention, but not that important because it's generally based on the chartered flights and code sharing flights. Okay, but important too. So major is our first whatever I told you. Okay, now is the convention clear? Is the conventions
Yes,
clear?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I know it's all going overhead.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. I haven't unmuted my mic and say.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I know, but I'm telling you, I know it is all going overhead. It is. I shouldn't say it by myself, but I am saying aviation law is very boring. Yeah. Because you have set of rules and all these kinds of things. So I think
Ma'am, it would be like interesting if we have done in small part, but we are doing in such a lengthy way, like so fast now. So,
yeah. So that is the thing. That is the major thing because you are not having the time. My explanation is also running off because I don't like to do like this, but I have no option. I always like to engage my students in my class, but what to do? It is.
All these topics are
Okay.
interesting, ma'am. If we go slowly, it will be very interesting to
Correct.
learn.
It is actually, it is. Now, aviation law, they have just given it like that. Now, if at all they were giving what at all topic I need to take, that would have even been good. Now, this is since aviation law just they have given like that, it's a huge topic. You don't know where to start, where to end. So, that's the problem. Okay, now moving on to the next one, freedom of air. Then I have certain videos for you that would clear your mind. So after freedom of air, I will show you the videos. Then you will be happy. Then we will wind up for today. Okay.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay. Freedom of air. Freedom of air is set of commercial aviation rights, okay, which an aircraft is having to follow. Okay, so it's a right. Now, as in we say right, we have certain rights in the Constitution, Indian Constitution, right to freedom, right to equality, all those kind of things. So same way, even aircraft is having certain set of freedom, okay, certain set of rights, so they can follow that. If it be in our country's airspace or if it be in other countries' airspace, freedom of air is applicable everywhere. Okay, it's the same, even if it is in domestic one or even if it is an international one. Now, this was brought again by a Convention on International Civil Aviation. Okay, which was done in 1944. So don't get confused. Convention on International Civil Aviation is the same Chicago Convention. Okay, don't get confused on that. It is the same Chicago Convention, 1944 in the sense Chicago Convention. So there was no other convention brought into existence at that time. Okay, then so this was certain set of thing I told you. Chicago Convention brought certain freedoms of air into action. So this was the thing. Now, open skies forms a part of freedom of air. Now, open skies is where aviation law is joined with freedom of air. So all set of laws, whatever I told you, all set of acts, whatever I told you, is being interconnected with this freedom of air. So that kind in general together it's called as open skies. Okay, now moving on, first, freedom of air, the right to or privilege in respect of scheduled international ocean. Okay, international air services granted by one state to another state or states to fly across its territory without landing. So it is a transit one. Okay, now let's say I'll have to land in Chennai, okay, from let's say Mumbai, okay, and my aircraft is a long route, okay. I need to be moving or flying above Bangalore airport. Okay, so but I don't want to touch down in Bangalore. I don't want to land in Bangalore. I need to directly go to Chennai. So what I will do is from Mumbai, I will fly over Bangalore airport. Okay, I will not land in Bangalore airport. I will fly over Bangalore airport and reach my destination, which is Chennai. So it it is having a right to fly over another airport also. So number one is that. The second one is that in respect to the scheduled international air services granted by one state to another state or state to land in territory for non-traffic purposes. That means second freedom of air is the flight or the aircraft which is flying in this way, that is following the first thing, should not be granted any services by that particular ATC. That is, if at all flying from Mumbai, if it is reaching the Bangalore airport, it is not supposed to contact the Bangalore airport. It needs to be directly moving on to the other sun. So Bangalore airport should not be giving any traffic instructions to that particular aircraft which is doing a transit there. Okay, but it needs to be informing whether any other aircraft is going to take off from that particular airport. Now let's say this aircraft is passing above the Bangalore airport. Of course, the altitude will be different because I'm not landing there. Okay, so the crashing possibility is very less. But still, if there is an aircraft taking off, the ATC needs to be informing the other airline. Okay, that's the second one. Third one, it is where the right of privilege in respect to the scheduled international air services granted by one state to another state to put down in the territory of first state traffic coming from the home state of the carrier. So what is the third one? Third one is that once the aircraft has been landed, okay, it is about to get land in this is totally transit, okay, where it has a stopover in one airport, and then from that airport it is moving to the other airport. So this is the rights which the airline or the aircraft is having. Okay, fourth one, the right or privilege in respect of scheduled international air services granted by one state to another state in territory of first state designed or traffic designated for the home country. So whatever it is landing there, the traffic needs to be given by the home country itself. So the ATC should be following the the ATC which needs to be followed by the aircraft is their home countries itself. They are not supposed to follow any other country's thing. Now, if an aircraft is flying from Dubai to India, it needs to be following the Dubai's instruction itself until and unless it is about to land in India. Okay, until and unless it is about to touch down in India, it is not supposed to take up the instruction of any other ATC. Okay. Fifth freedom of air is that the right or privilege in respect to scheduled international air services. So this means it is not only for domestic, it is also for international services. Okay, all these freedoms of air. To take down and to put down and to take on the territory of first state traffic coming from or destined to the third state. Now let's say the aircraft is flying to the third state. Okay, so if at all the aircraft wants an emergency landing into this particular airport, it can ask this particular airport's ATC that I require an emergency landing. Now let's say there are many aircrafts which is landing like that. The fuel has got consumed and they want a refueling. Then yes, they'll have to land in the nearest airport. So they prefer to ask that particular ATC that we require, there's an emergency, we need to be landing. Okay, if there's a medical case, we need to be landing, so kindly grant us a slot to land. So all these things can be done by the aircraft. Freedom is like any transporting. This is totally based on your cargo. Okay, if you will have to do any international services or any transporting or your state carrier, okay, you can move freely to any country. Okay, you are until and unless you have been accepted by the other country, you can pass their borders. Okay, You are agreed to pass their borders. So this, the so-called sixth freedom of the air, unlike the first five freedom, is not incorporated as such into any widely recognized air services agreement, such as Five Freedoms Agreement. So if you see, 1 to 5 freedoms of air is being agreed by the Five Freedoms Agreement. Okay, but 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th is not being agreed. But this is a part of the freedom of air. Okay, so don't get confused. 7th freedom of air is that the right to privilege in respect of international airlines. They are transporting a traffic between the territory of granting state and third state with no requirement of include such operations. That is, the service need not connect to or be an extension of any service. So if you, for example, let's say you're carrying a passenger, okay, on an aircraft. He needs to be getting down in Delhi, but he has not got down in Delhi, and he's taking the same passenger to other aircraft. It is not allowed, not at all allowed. So the airline has a right to take off that passenger in Delhi itself. So it is one of the right given to them. Eighth freedom is that if it is a foreign carrier, okay, and it needs to be informing to the other destination as in which home country it has been coming from, so which country it has been connecting from. Okay, so ninth freedom is that entirely based on the territory. Okay, what and all is the territory it would be traveling to, and what is the duties it is performing to. So both of the countries which the aircraft is being sending needs to be knowing this. So this is the ninth freedom. Now what I have done is, I have all the 9 freedoms I have implicated here. I have given what is the freedom, okay, what is the description of the first freedom with an example. So you will come to know, once you read this, you will come to know what exactly the first freedom means, what the second freedom means, and all those things. Okay, so this is an example. The right to fly over a foreign country without landing. I have given you an example. A flight from Canada to Mexico flown by a Mexican airline flying over the United States. So it needs to be flown to Mexico. Departing from Canada, it needs to land in Mexico, but it's flying over the United States. So it is not landing in the United States. So in this way, I have given all the all the 9 freedoms. So you can read that. Now, freedom of air, is it clear? Freedom of air is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's nice. So what we will do is, so today I have completed my theory. So I will show you a set of videos. Have fun with the videos today. So I will be showing you the aviation legislation framework, that is the aviation laws video. Then I will be showing you, I will be showing you the aviation conventions. Okay, we should have another one too. Then I will also be showing what is freedom of air. Okay, so these 3 videos you can watch. Ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Video means happy, no?
Yes.
Video means I'm happy to watch. Yeah, that's what I said. I don't want to, mess up your head with this. So once watching the video, you will come to know what exactly it is. Okay. Now we will watch aviation legislation framework, as in how the legislation was formed, what and all are the legislations. Okay. There is no speaking in it. You need to be just reading it up, so you will understand. Since it's a visual view, it will be clear. Okay. Visible on your screen?
No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, now.
Okay. Watch. I'll pause it for some time. Just read it once.
Excuse me, ma'am.
What happened, Divya?
Ma'am, we have to write down those notes, no? Like dates
No, no, no,
and
no, 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 don't do that. I'm anyway sending this to Mohit sir. He will update it in the website. Okay, don't worry. This whatever I'm showing you on the screen would be given to you guys. So don't worry on that.
Mm,
Okay,
okay, ma'am.
don't worry. It is just you need to make a notes whatever I'm explaining if you feel anything is important. Okay, because I told you your questions might come on my explanations also. So on PPT I have majorly based only the main important things, but these and all will come in your. See, these are everything whatever I've explained you now. So it is just in a PPT in a visual way I'm showing it. So you guys that would enter into your head a little more clearly. Okay, no difference.
Ma'am, last slide, please. Last slide.
Which one?
Miss, ma'am, third, second to last, ma'am. Second, yes, ma'am. This one.
This one?
Yes, ma'am. What? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And let this finish. I'll tell you what is car.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, in this they have been showing in aviation law also they includes, DGCA's a set of rules. Okay, DGCA has brought up with something called as CAR, CAR. Okay, not your driving car. It is civil aviation requirements. Okay, which has to be followed by the entire, airports. And this is formed by DGCA. Okay, even in every airport you have a manual which states about the car. Now in the car is the sections of number 9 sections, I believe it has been shown. Okay, air safety, airworthiness, your licensing, all these things is actually the job which would be done by the DGCA and the set of rules you need to be following. So this is one of the legislation which is labeled by the aviation department, DGCA in general. In the same way, if you talk about other countries, okay, your CAA, your FAA has also laid certain set of cars in their particular countries, okay, which they need to be following. The aviation department needs to be following. So that video is a part of aviation law, okay. So apart from your aircraft rules, aircraft act, all those things, DGCA has set up certain standards which is called as CAR, civil aviation requirements. Okay, so under that it has got certain sections. Okay, as I told you, section 1, section 2, section 3. Okay, so those sections still have explanations, but that is not too important for you guys now at this level. So those sections you need to be knowing. What are the 11 sections of DGCAs that you need to be knowing? Okay, so is that clear? Clear, Divya?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, moving on to the next video, freedom of air we will see, because that is little less. The other one is little huge, so we will see freedom of air first.
The Chicago
Visible on your screen?
No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, now.
Okay, watch.
Convention of 1944 laid the foundation of The Chicago Convention of 1944 laid the foundation of many principles of commercial aviation. Among others, the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, and some freedoms of the air were established. These freedoms form the legal base for most international commercial air traffic to this day. So let's take a closer look at them. The first freedom of
So this is actually done by a pilot, okay? A senior officer has been doing this particular video, has done this video and posted it. So you can see this. So he's explaining it clearly as in what is the 9 freedoms of air.
the air is the right to overfly a foreign country without landing. So an airline from country A that is granted this freedom by country B is allowed to fly commercial flights crossing the airspace of country B without landing. This freedom is important since Article 1 of the Chicago Convention states that every state has complete and exclusive sovereignty over airspace above its territory. The second freedom of the air is the right to land for non-traffic purposes. So an airline from country A can land in country B to refuel or for maintenance purposes, for example, if it is on a flight to another country. This freedom does not grant the right to transport passengers or cargo between the two countries, however. It is fairly uncommon for airlines to use technical stops nowadays, since increased range allows most routes to be operated non-stop. These first two rights are so-called transit rights that were established by the Chicago Convention, and they are known as the International Air Services Transit Agreement, and nowadays 129 countries signed the treaty. They are fairly universal, however there are some notable exceptions. The European Union's blacklist of airlines bans certain carriers from operating in EU airspace over safety concerns, for example. Moreover, countries are allowed to charge fees for their services and the overflight of their territory. The third freedom of the air is the privilege to transport commercial traffic from one's own country to another. So the airline from country A is granted the right to carry passengers and goods from their own country to country B. And the fourth freedom of the air is the exact opposite, the right to fly from another country to one's own. The fifth freedom of the air is the right to fly between two foreign countries on a flight originating or ending in one's own country. It grants the airline the privilege of also transporting commercial traffic between the two foreign countries without intention of ever continuing to the airline's home country. So an airline from country A, on a flight originating from their own country, via country B to country C, can also sell tickets to transport passengers between country B and C. Only these 5 freedoms are officially recognized by ICAO, because these are part of an international treaty, the 5 Freedoms Agreement. However, the following are still freedoms granted to some airlines by some countries, so ICAO refers to them as so-called freedoms. The 6th freedom of the air is the right to fly from a foreign country to another foreign country, while stopping in one's own country for non-technical reasons. So an airline from country B operating a flight from country A to country C with a stop in their home country. There's also the modified 6th freedom, which is almost the same. However, it would be an airline flying from country A to another part of country A with a stop in their home country. The seventh freedom is the right to fly between two foreign countries. So an airline from country A that was granted this right is allowed to fly passengers and cargo between country B and country C. The eighth freedom of the air is the right to fly inside a foreign country on a flight that commences or terminates in one's own country. So an airline from country A is flying a flight from their own country to an airport in country B, and then continuing onwards to another airport in country B. This freedom grants them the privilege to also transport traffic commercially between the two foreign airports. It is also known as consecutive cabotage. The ninth and final freedom is the right to fly commercially scheduled flights within a foreign country. So an airline from country A flying a flight domestically in country B. This is also known as standalone cabotage. It's important to note that while some of the freedoms are fairly universal, others are very rare and only really granted in single aviation markets like within the EU. Rhino or Wizz Air would be well-known examples for using the seventh and ninth freedoms on a regular basis within the European Union.
Clear? Was that
Ma'am,
clear?
can you please explain the sixth one once?
Ma'am, not clear, ma'am.
Not clear. Everything is confusing, huh? So when you, I will paste this video, so you can start watching it
Ma'am, can you
again and
please
again.
explain sixth freedom once?
Okay, wait. Let me just see that. And the sixth freedom of air is that from, let's say, country A, country B, country C. Like, let's talk in the way like how he's saying. Now, the aircraft has been landing. Okay, let's place it as a place itself. Okay, flying international. Okay, Bangalore to Dubai, Dubai to London. Let's say London Heathrow Airport. Okay, now your aircraft is the EK aircraft. Okay, Emirates is the aircraft which is flying from Bangalore to Dubai, from Dubai to London. Okay, now sixth freedom of air is something where the EK is being taken, that is Emirates flight is being taken off from Bangalore. Okay, and it is giving a stop in its home country. Home country in the sense EK's home country is Dubai, right? Emirates is from Dubai, so it is giving a stop in the Dubai, but it is not offloading any passengers, not offloading any bag. It is just a layover, a stopover for 1 hour or 2 hours. Then the flight is being taken off from Dubai to London. So the same flight is taking off from Dubai to London. So that is the sixth one. Now understood? Understood,
Yes, ma'am, it's
Mr.
clear, ma'am.
Clear? Is there any
Yes, ma'am.
doubt in that again? Okay. So once you start, I'll send this video. He is clearly explaining it. He's very clearly explaining it. So once you repeatedly watch this videos, this freedom of air would be very clear. Okay. So I will tell Mohit sir to send you the link today itself, so it would be easy for you guys to access it. ठीक है.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I have another video, but I don't think so I would be able to show you because it's a huge video of aviation law. So what I will do is the aviation conventions. So what I will do is I'll paste this video. You can just watch it on the website. Okay. So aviation laws website, whatever I have to explain to you, even the person is explaining it via visual thing. So it is interesting to watch it. So I will paste that. You guys can watch it. Fine. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So let me quickly take up your attendance and we will wind up for today.